As part of our Commitment 2016 coverage, WGAL is bringing you coverage of all the races that impact the Susquehanna Valley, from the presidential contest to local races. And I'm joined now by the Republican candidates running for the 92nd Legislative District in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. The district includes parts of York and Cumberland counties, and the candidates are looking to replace Representative Mike Regan, who is not seeking re-election. And the candidates are, from left to right, Craig Bruder, a businessman from Newberry Township, Dawn Kiefer, a businesswoman from Franklin Township, and Anthony Pugliese, a former legislative liaison for the Department of Community and Economic Development. Welcome to all of you, and you're all from York County, but this district is a large one and covers both York and Cumberland County. I know an issue has been kind of the sprawl in that area and a lot of growth. Is there something you would do, let's start with you, Mr. Pugliese, to contain that growth, or anything you're concerned about?
Sure. Well, having been the legislative director of Pennsylvania's Department of Community and Economic Development, which really is a state entity that works on a lot of these planning issues, these development issues, I think it's clear that in parts of the district, certainly in areas of Fairview and Newberry, for example, you have a lot more job growth. You have a lot more companies who are looking to come into these areas. In other parts of the area, whether it be in Washington Township, for example, they really enjoy their green space, their agricultural community. So it's important to understand, what the needs and the interests are of all throughout the district.
Anything further that we need to do to regulate that kind of growth?
No, I think that we need to understand that I think that there is an identity involved in each township. So, for example, in Newberry, there is a lot of open space, but I think a lot of people do want more jobs. So I think it's important to have somebody who understands how you do job creation, how you do economic development, how you create more jobs in an area while still maintaining the identity of that township, whether that be open space, green space, and things like that.
What would you do to address job growth? How do you grow more jobs?
Well, I don't think it's actually the government's job to really grow jobs. I think it's our job to get out of the way, and I think there's too many government hindrances right now on current small businesses that are already in the district, all of the regulatory restraints that are on them. And I think when the government starts to get involved and starts doing special projects and initiatives to place businesses here or to encourage a business to come in at the expense of businesses that are already there, it just sets an unfair field.
Are you talking about local regulation, state regulation, or federal regulation?
I'm talking mainly state and federal. I think you have local governments. I think that's your front line whenever you are dealing with development and sprawl and growth and where you want those. I think that's why you have your supervisors or your commissioners, whatever it might be in your townships, to help set that. And those are already set up with where you have your zoning and how things are zoned. So you have an idea of where commercial can go, what is agriculture. That's already there, those guidelines are there. And that's people's local voice to have those supervisors there. So I don't think the state needs to overreach that jurisdiction.
What do you think about that? Do you think there needs to be any further regulation?
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of that, our township supervisors are there. That's why they're there. I think in our role as a legislator, we do need to get out of their way. We also just need to be a support mechanism to them. They know what the community, being a Newberry Township resident, we have a little bit of new with the old. We've got a lot of people moving into the area. They also want to make sure that the right jobs are there. We don't want to just bring in any company that may not have the best interest for the community. So,
what are the right jobs?
I think the right jobs are more towards manufacturing, healthcare. I think more jobs like that than the retail and the jobs that we currently see in Pennsylvania if you look across the entire chart.
Let's talk budget. The state budget has certainly been very contentious this year, and the governor is now threatening to veto the budget that was passed. What would you do if you went to Harrisburg to achieve more compromise?
Yeah, I think a large part of it, and it's a difficult problem right now. I mean, as a representative, you're one of 203. But what you need to do when you're in there, you're choosing your leadership. So you need to come to your leadership and say, guys, have we really looked at every single option and vetted every option to make sure that both parties are happy and we can move forward and reach an agreement? 200 and some days just does not work. They finally got yesterday they passed, so at least we have some funding going out now. But we've got to work on this year now. And I think it just comes down to, as the House, you need to get together and find out from your leadership what the other side is interested in and pull all that information together and make an educated decision on how we can actually get our funding, move forward. The people want to see a budget passed. They don't want to see 200 days of people not getting the job done.
What do you think they haven't done correctly in Harrisburg to get this budget passed, or that it's been so many months?
Well, I think a lot of people are coming out with sound bites and political rhetoric. But, I mean, I think communicate more. Get the message out to the people. What's going on? Why are they holding the funding hostage for the schools? And the governor sent out letters telling them how they can shut down the schools, how to proceed with that, when the money's in the Treasury. So they're playing politics there. That money could be released. It's a matter of $200 million is not enough. So that is one of the things they're doing wrong. They're just playing politics with that. I mean, the governor needs to stop using our children as a political ploy.
When you say they're playing politics, who's playing politics?
Well, I think some of the sound bites are politics. Like, instead of coming out as an initial attack, I think we need the details. We need the specifics. Tell us exactly, what was vetoed, what was passed. I don't think all of that information is out there. It sounds great when you say, they're targeting our children. Our children are the losers in this. Where you need to say, listen, the funding is there. The current funding as it exists, how the school districts have already set up their budgets is based on last year's funding. So they can operate on that. We've given $200 million more, as was offered, and it was all stricken by the governor. That information needs to get out to the public so that they can put the pressure on where it's needed.
Do you think this, Mr. Pugliese, this budget included enough for education additionally?
Well, I think that you see the House Republicans did increase funding to education. Now, whether was it to the level of what Governor Wolf wanted, the answer is no, I think. However, I think that what the House Republicans were trying to do was a fiscally responsible budget. And I agree. I think that we really need to do a better job of communicating the truth and the facts to the people of Pennsylvania. I think that when people hear that Governor Wolf is trying to do a retroactive tax increase on them and trying to say, hey, I hope you enjoyed things a couple months ago, we raised our rates, you now owe us more money, people can't afford these things. When you ask about how do we kind of deal with this bipartisan gridlock, I do think that that's a good question. I think that it's important to mention, again, having been the legislative director of PA's Commerce Department, Department of Community and Economic Development, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, a senator or a representative, if you had an issue involving your community, involving business in your district, you wanted to write legislation involving the economy or communities, I was the first call you made. And so I think that helps. That helps when you have a lot of credibility on both sides of the aisle, and you can go up and say, listen, I'm not just one of 203 in the House. I'm somebody you worked with. I'm somebody that has experience on these issues. So when I say, if we cut, for example, the corporate net income tax, which is the highest in the country, or I'm sorry, the highest in the world.
Okay. What should we cut that to very quickly?
Okay. I would say 6.99, which that's at 9.99 right now. Highest in the world.
Very good. Well, thank you all for joining us. We wish you the best in the election and appreciate you being here. And we thank all of the candidates for joining us for this debate. Remember, the Pennsylvania primary is April 26th, and keep up with the latest election news on WGAL.com. You'll find more information on other races that we're following, and you can only find online.